The lights in the small laundry room buzzed loudly overhead, flickering every few seconds like they were struggling to stay alive. It was past 11 p.m. on May 10th, 2026. The dryers along the wall rumbled heavily, shaking the floor beneath them and filling the room with a constant mechanical roar. Juniper Blessing, a 19-year-old college student, stood near the folding table waiting for her clothes to finish drying. She wore a gray hoodie, loose sweatpants, and white sneakers. Her dark hair was tied back messily, and a pair of earbuds played soft music in her ears while she scrolled through her phone, unaware that anyone was watching her. Outside, rain tapped lightly against the basement windows. The laundry room door creaked open slowly. A man stepped inside. Christopher Leahy, 31 years old, kept his hood pulled low over his face. Water dripped from the sleeves of his black jacket onto the tile floor. His eyes locked onto Juniper the second he entered the room. She noticed him after a moment and pulled one earbud out politely. "Hey, do you need a washing machine?" she asked softly. Leahy didn't answer. The dryers continued their low, steady rumble. He walked toward her slowly, his shoes scraping against the floor with each deliberate step. His expression was cold and vacant, almost entirely emotionless, yet his stare never once left her face. Juniper's small smile faded. "I think one over there is free," she said, pointing nervously toward the far corner. He said nothing. Leahy moved closer. Juniper instinctively took half a step backward, confusion beginning to replace the calm she had worn moments before. She glanced briefly toward the door behind him, then back at the stranger, now standing only a few feet away. "Are you okay?" she asked. For a moment neither of them spoke. There was only the buzzing of the overhead lights and the relentless roar of the machines around them. Then Leahy tilted his head slightly and spoke in a low voice that barely rose above the noise. "I've been waiting to talk to you." Fear hit Juniper instantly. She pulled one earbud out, her voice barely holding steady. "I'm almost finished," she said carefully. "You can use this machine after me." Before she could step away, Leahy lunged. He grabbed her violently and slammed her back against the washing machines. The metal rattled loudly from the impact. Juniper gasped in shock, struggling to breathe as panic rushed through her body. "Stop!" she cried, trying to push him away. The dryers thundered around them, swallowing parts of the noise. Juniper fought desperately. She kicked at his legs, scratched at his face, and tried to break free. But he overpowered her easily. Her phone crashed to the floor, the screen cracking beneath her shoe as the struggle became chaotic. Leahy pulled something from inside his jacket. The moment Juniper saw the knife, terror spread across her face. She screamed. The sound echoed through the narrow laundry room as she tried to escape, stumbling against the machines. The struggle turned frantic and violent. Clothes spilled across the floor while the buzzing lights flickered overhead. Juniper continued fighting with everything she had, crying out for help between desperate breaths. But the isolated basement remained empty. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, the noise of the dryers covered the sounds of the attack. Minutes later, the room fell horribly quiet except for the low mechanical rumble of the machines still turning in the background. One dryer beeped softly as its cycle ended, the ordinary sound feeling disturbingly out of place in the aftermath. 3 days earlier, life at the university had felt completely normal. The campus near the University of Washington was busy with students finishing spring quarter assignments, walking between dorms with backpacks slung over their shoulders while the cool Seattle rain drifted through the evening air. Juniper Blessing lived at Nordheim Court Student Apartments, only a short distance from campus. At 19 years old, she was studying atmospheric science, a subject she spoke about with genuine excitement whenever anyone asked. She loved thunderstorms, weather maps, and storm videos online. Her dream was to become a storm chaser someday, traveling across the country to study severe weather up close. Her apartment walls reflected that obsession. Radar screenshots, weather charts, and photos of lightning storms were pinned beside class notes and postcards. A small whiteboard near her desk listed upcoming assignments and weather patterns she wanted to track that week. That evening, Juniper sat in the apartment kitchen with her roommate. A pan sizzled on the stove, while music played softly from a speaker near the sink. The smell of garlic and pasta sauce filled the small apartment. Sarah laughed while stirring noodles. You seriously check weather models, more than social media. Juniper grinned from across the counter. Weather models are more dramatic. Sarah rolled her eyes jokingly. Only you would say that. Juniper smiled and took a bite of food straight from the pan, before Sarah slapped her hand away with a wooden spoon. Hey, you're impossible. Sarah laughed. The atmosphere felt warm and relaxed, the kind of ordinary college evening nobody thinks twice about. Outside the apartment windows, students crossed the courtyard carrying laundry baskets and coffee cups, while distant conversations echoed through the buildings. Juniper checked her phone and suddenly brightened. Oh, look at this, she said, turning the screen toward Sarah. There's supposed to be a storm system moving in later this week. Sarah groaned dramatically. You are the only person I know who gets excited about dangerous weather. It's beautiful, Juniper replied quietly. For a brief moment, she stood near the kitchen window, watching the rain collect beneath the campus lights outside. The reflection of the city shimmered against the wet pavement, while thunder murmured faintly somewhere far away. Everything about the night felt ordinary and safe. Neither of them knew. Someone had already begun watching Juniper from a distance. I have a lot of dirty clothes, Juniper said while carrying her plate to the sink. I'll probably go to the laundry room around 11. The dryers are usually empty that late. Sarah looked up immediately, concern crossing her face. Please be careful, she said. Some girls in the building were talking about a strange guy hanging around outside lately. They said he doesn't look like a student. Juniper gave a small, reassuring smile. Don't worry, she replied. I'll be fine. I'm just doing laundry. She tapped one of her earbuds playfully. And I've got my music. Sarah still didn't seem fully convinced. Well, text me when you come back. I will. At the time, neither of them realized how serious the warnings actually were. Christopher Leahy had reportedly been appearing around the apartment complex for weeks. He didn't live there, and nobody recognized him from the university. Students occasionally noticed him sitting alone near pathways or standing beside buildings late at night without any clear reason. Most people assumed he was harmless, quiet, just another stranger passing through campus housing. But some students later told police they remembered seeing him watching people for long periods of time. He would sit motionless on benches for hours, his hood pulled over his face, staring toward entrances and windows as students came and went. One afternoon, Leahy noticed Juniper crossing the courtyard with two friends. She carried a laundry bag over one shoulder while laughing at something someone had said. From a distance, Leahy watched her carefully. After that day, he reportedly began paying attention to her routines. He lingered near the apartment buildings at different hours, observing who entered and left. According to investigators, he appeared especially interested in the laundry area, located on the lower floor of the complex. The night before the attack, security footage allegedly captured him standing near the laundry room hallway for an unusual amount of time. Detectives later believed he had been studying the camera placements and blind spots around the area. Later, one camera outside the room stopped functioning properly. Another inside lost connection entirely. Residents didn't notice anything unusual at the time. That same evening, another student entered the laundry room carrying a basket of clothes. As she opened the door, she reportedly noticed a hooded man following several steps behind her. She later told investigators the encounter immediately made her uncomfortable. The man entered the room after her, but said nothing. For several tense moments, he simply stood there near the machines while she hurried through loading her clothes, avoiding eye contact. Feeling uneasy, she gathered her belongings sooner than planned and quickly left the room. When she glanced back once in the hallway, the man was still standing inside alone, watching the doorway. The girl immediately felt uncomfortable being alone with him. Are you waiting for a machine? She asked nervously, trying to sound casual, while stuffing clothes into a washer as quickly as possible. Leahy didn't respond at first. He just stood near the back wall with his head covering most of his face, staring silently at the rows of machines turning beneath the harsh fluorescent lights. The girl's hands shook slightly while she loaded detergent. For several long seconds, the only sounds in the room were the buzzing lights and the heavy rumble of dryers spinning nearby. Then Leahy slowly turned and walked out without saying another word. The moment he disappeared into the hallway, the girl hurried to finish. She grabbed her laundry basket and left quickly, later telling friends she had felt deeply unsettled by the encounter. About 15 minutes later, Juniper entered the same laundry room alone. She carried a basket of clothes against her hip, while music played softly through her earbuds. Like always, she appeared relaxed, unaware that someone had already been waiting nearby. The attack itself happened quickly. Later, investigators would describe it as sudden, targeted, and extremely violent. After the assault, the room fell eerily silent except for the machines still running their normal cycles. Dryers continued tumbling clothes while lights flickered overhead, creating a horrifying contrast between ordinary routine and what had just happened moments earlier. Several minutes passed. Then another student entered the laundry room carrying detergent and a phone in her hand. As the door opened, she immediately froze. Her scream echoed through the hallway. She dropped everything and ran back outside calling for help, shaking uncontrollably. She later told police she had unknowingly crossed paths with a hooded man only moments earlier. While entering the building, she had held the hallway door open for him as he walked calmly toward the exit. According to her statement, he looked directly at her and quietly said, "Thank you." Then he walked away into the night without appearing nervous or rushed. University police and emergency responders arrived within minutes after the 911 calls flooded in. Officers secured the building while terrified students gathered outside in shock, many still unaware of what had happened inside. Investigators quickly realized the killing did not appear random. Evidence at the scene suggested planning. By afternoon, law enforcement released surveillance images to local news stations and online platforms, warning the public that the suspect might still be in the area. His photograph spread rapidly across social media as frightened residents began reporting possible sightings and suspicious encounters connected to him. Fear spread quickly across campus. Students avoided walking alone after dark. Parents called their children nonstop. Many residents demanded increased security inside university housing buildings, shocked that someone from outside campus had allegedly been able to enter so easily. 3 days after the killing on May 13th, Christopher Leahy arrived at the Bellevue police station accompanied by his parents and an attorney. Officers later stated that he appeared unusually calm. 1 week later, Christopher Leahy appeared in the large King County courtroom for his first major hearing. The room was packed. Reporters filled the benches beside students, faculty members, and grieving relatives. Camera shutters clicked constantly as deputies escorted Leahy into court wearing jail clothing and restraints around his wrists and ankles. Chains rattled softly as he sat down beside his attorney. Throughout the hearing, his expression barely changed. He stared forward silently while prosecutors described the evidence gathered against him, including surveillance footage, witness statements, and forensic findings from the apartment complex. The judge said, "Christopher Leahy, you are charged with first-degree murder." Juniper's mother and family sat in the front row, silent except for their sobs. Her mother clutched a framed photo of Juniper, a bright, thoughtful 19-year-old who had always dreamed beyond her surroundings. Her eyes stayed fixed on the defendant, as if trying to understand how a normal day had turned into something irreversible.